Dear chess friends, welcome to your side of chess channel and welcome to an incredible gameplay by two legends of the sport. Welcome to a sharp tactical battle between Artur Yusupov and Alexey Shirov back from 2012 in the amazing Torre Attack opening. So I think you really like this game because this game will not watch from the attacking point of view. We will watch this game from the defensive point of view. I think like the art of the attack, also the art of the defense is very, very important. I think it's much harder even to defend than to attack in chess, because when you are on the attacking side you have many times 2-3 solutions in order to keep the attacking flow, but when you are on the defensive side I think many times you have only one solution, only one move that saves the day for you. So that's why I think the art of defense is very, very important for us to follow. And here I think Alexey Shirov played one of the most incredible defensive games of all time. So put your seatbelts on and enjoy in this great gameplay by these two top legends. With the white pieces, Artur Yusupov opened with the move d4. Here Alexey Shirov response was knight to f6, and after knight to f3 g6 we have now the move bishop to g5, the Torre attack with this Fianchetto defense with this move g6. Now we have bishop to g7, knight to d2. So the Torre attack is similar to the London system, of course not the same, but in the London system you're trying to get bishop to f4, you play this setup knight to d2, knight to f3, and then you're trying to build a nice grip on dark square c3, d4, e3. Here in the Torre attack this bishop is not on f4, but it's at least attacking now the knight on f6, but still with the main defensive setup here from white's perspective, e3, c3, then bishop to d3. So it's sort of a setup opening in which black is already forced to counterattack somehow in the center of the board. Kingside castling c3. So you see, like in the London system here, also Artur Yusupov builds this solid structure on dark square. We have d5, e3, knight to d7, bishop to d3, and here Alexey Shirov prepares immediately to break and enter with the move e5. We have castling e5. Here Yusupov is saying, okay, I'll break and enter here in the center too, because I have a great activity, I have a great setup. And the downside a little bit here for black is that now the knight is not is covering basically the long diagonal for the light square bishop. So of course white has a slightly better activity in an early stage of the game, so that's why it's very natural also for white to break and enter here in the center of the board. Here we have a couple of trades of pawns: e takes d4, c takes d4, d takes e4, and knight takes e4. In this sequence where we have traded off now many pawns in the center of the board, white is left now with a tiny little structural disadvantage. It's of course the isolated d pawn, but with a great activity. Look at this, all of these pieces are playing in a great shape, all of them are on very active squares. On the downside, as I said, is still the lack of development here by black. The bishop is still on the starter square c8. We have now the move h6 here by Alexey Shirov. He doesn't want to tolerate, of course, this unpleasant bishop on g5, but now a great attacker like Artur Yusupov found the ultimate counterattack, played now a beautiful queen Qb3. This is a great move because you cannot actually pick up here the bishop on g5, then you run into great tactics. Look at this, knight to g5, you have to cover with the rook. Now look at this, bishop to g6. Even if you play rook to f8, then knight takes f7, bishop to g6 is possible. Look at this, you're trying maybe to cover, then this other rook is coming into the game, you are trying maybe to get rid of the knight, we trade it off. Look at this, knight takes f7, so you're getting simply destroyed here on light squares by the queen, bishops, and knight activity. This could be maybe prolonged, but here the engine gives a much better evaluation here for white, although white is down a piece but has now grabbed many pawns here. Even if this game reaches the fully endgame stage, white should be winning because of this three connected passers, at least here on the king side. So after queen to b3 you cannot pick up the bishop on g5, so that's why here rook to e7 immediately played by Shirov, knight to e5. We have now h takes g5, and after knight takes f7, here first question for you, maybe you can also participate actively in this epic game. Pause the video and try to see now the best defensive idea here for black. Black moves and saves the day, at least for a while. As I said, here when you are on the defensive side, you have to always find unique answers. You have to always find unique solutions to these problems. After knight to f7, there's only one good move here for black. So as I said, try to see now the best defensive move here for Shirov. Shirov saw this move and the game continued. Okay, here's the problem. If you play rook takes f7, this wouldn't be good. Then again, this tactics, knight to g5, bishop to g6 is coming into the game. So I think it's a devastating position for black. So here you have to play a beautiful knight to c5. This is the way to go. Let's see now what happens if you, for instance, try here knight takes d8. This wouldn't be so good because after knight takes b3, bishop to f6, bishop takes f6, you can of course also pick up now the piece on b3. But the issue in this tactical sequence is that actually the knight on d8 is trapped. You'll need many moves, maybe 4 or 5 moves in order to grab the knight. But now, after a couple more moves, we can pick up now this one. We support it. We attack now here the piece and also the rook. So it's game over, I think, here for white. Although the game would probably be continued, but we'll simply grab the piece. And I think this is not a position that you love to play here from white's perspective. After move knight to after move knight to c5, if you play here knight takes c5, then it's not so good. Now we play finally rook takes f7. You can play bishop to g6, but now with queen to d5, after a couple of trades of pieces here, black is still continuing the game with 2 bishops against the rook. Will probably also simplify the game enough by trading off the queens off the board, which is a good thing because you don't want to have such a great activity by the queen on b3. And again, I think this is a good game here for black. Black should be here much better. So that's why after knight to c5, here knight takes f6 first, played by Yusupov. We have bishop to f6 by Shirov, d takes c5, and now rook takes f7. So far Shirov has now the extra piece, but of course Yusupov continues with bishop to g6, hits now the rook on f7. You have to play again rook to f8, and now after move f4 again. Here pause the video and try to see now the best defensive idea here for black. You see again white has this great attacking chances on the f-file. So what would you do now in this particular position? Maybe it's sort of a beginner's tactic, but I think it's very important for us to understand here the defensive skills by Alexey Shirov. Okay, here Shirov played of course the beautiful g4 move. This is the way to go. We're not allowing this rook to be active here on the f-file. This is now the best defensive idea. But of course here Yusupov tries f5. f5 is a good move because now Yusupov is trying to play rook to f4, rook to g4. Again, here my question for you is, again, what would you do now with the black pieces? How would you defend this position? Of course, we have still the spin. Probably we will lose the rook on f7, but how to make progress here? There is a certain rule, there is a certain principle in chess that's very important. I think you have to apply now this principle. So, as I said, pause the video, think about this position a little bit harder, and try to see now the best continuation here for black. Okay, here Alexey Shirov played a beautiful bishop to d7. You have to now develop your pieces. If your pieces are staying on the starting course, this is not good. You're not participating with all of the pieces into the defense. Because if you play here, of course, queen to b7, we simply get out of the spin finally. If you play something like bishop to f7 here, then we play queen to f7. You can maybe pick up now here the pawn on b7, but now with rook to e8, maybe queen to c7, you're getting out of this mess. Bishop to d4 is going to happen. We can also include finally the rook into the game now when we have liberated ourselves from this great pin by white. I think this is a solid game for black, and I think here black should be much better. The bishops will finally, as I said, come into the game. So here that's why after bishop to d7, now finally rook to f4 was played by Yusupov, trying to hit the pawn on g4. We have bishop to c6, and after king to h1, the threat is of course rook to g4. Again, what would you do now in this particular position? How would you defend this position? Applying the same principle like before. So maybe it's a little bit harder even to see, but try to see now really the best solution. What would you do now in this particular position with the black pieces? Okay. The best defensive idea is again activating the last piece that has not played so far in the game. Rook to d8, very important move to place finally this idea bishop to d5. Bishop to d5 is your defensive resource, at least you're trying to do something. The best way actually here for Artur Yusupov would have been the move rook to e1, which he unfortunately for him missed in the game. He should have played this one, but now after something like rook to d5, you have to again trade off the pieces, and again black is simply continuing with 2 bishops against the rook. Probably he now rook to g4 is working. Still a complicated game, but this was the way to go actually here for Artur Yusupov. But in the game he played rook to g4, allowed now here bishop to d5. That's now the great defensive idea here by Alexey Shirov. He finally cut off this long diagonal. If white would have continued with the bishop to f7, then king to f7, queen to e3 leads again into similar position. Again, black is having 2 minor pieces for the rook. Here in the game after bishop to d5, Artur Yusupov tried queen to h3. Tries of course to do something here on this side of the board. There are also many problems if the g file gets liberated. So here rook to g7 played by Alexey Shirov. We have bishop to h7, and you see now with king to f7 here a great defensive move again by Shirov. He simply got out of the attack, and he's now trying to get the king here cornered to c8, b8, or to a8. So basically from castling king side here, Alexey Shirov is trying to castle queen side. Very, very wild stuff. Great defensive ideas here. Bishop to g6, king to e7, queen to a3, king to d7. Here Shirov is not caring for pawn here, simple pawn. He's trying to be fast in his escape route here with the king. We have rook to d1. Even if you play here queen takes a7, then we can play rook to a8. So the queen actually in this sequence would be trapped. The game would be over here for white. So that's why after rook to d1, now we have king to c8, queen takes a7, and now again a brilliant defensive move, c6. You can of course deliver maybe one check like Yusupov did here, but never really perpetuals, because now for king to b8 no good checks are possible by the queen. So that's why here rook to a4 was played by Artur Yusupov. We have bishop to e5. Here Shirov finally activates his pieces, and now the bishops are on the most optimal squares. Here we have h3, king to c8. Even if you deliver maybe one check, we can always cover here with bishop to b8. So nothing spectacular gained here from white's perspective. After king to c8, here we have rook to e1 by Artur Yusupov, which was now a huge mistake. And now comes I think the winning idea here for black. Pause the video now again and try to see now the best continuation here for black. I would even say black moves and wins the game. So Alexey Shirov, of course, a great tactician, saw this move immediately, and from this point on, I think the game for whites was really devastating. So what would you do now again in this particular position? Okay, here the best idea is tactic bishop takes g2. This is the way to go. After king takes g2, now queen to f5. Now this bishop is lost also, so this tactic worked. Great tactics here by Alexey Shirov. Rook to g4. We have rook to g6. What should you do? Even if you try, of course, rook takes e5, then we first pick up the piece and then afterwards the rook. So rook takes g4 comes with a check. In the game queen to b4 was played, and now after rook to d4 in this particular position here Artur Yusupov resigned. Although maybe rook to f8 is also a good continuation with some threats like I don't know, after queen to f4 we can pick up here the pieces. So it's again a devastating position. But after rook here a rook to d4 in this position, Artur Yusupov resigned, and Alexey Shirov won this epic and spectacular game where he showed very great defensive skills. So this was really epic. Very hard to find, I think, many of these moves, but you saw how activating the pieces, I think, is the most important principle in defense, but also in attacking chess. You have to play with all of your pieces. That's, I think, the rule that should be applied in many games. Of course, sometimes you cannot always activate your pieces, but if you have the opportunity, if you have time, of course, playing with more pieces is much more important than maybe with 1, 2, 3 pieces. So this was very epic how Alexey Shirov defended this sharp attack by Artur Yusupov. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. If you want to see more beautiful chess games here on my YouTube chess channel, check out our best chess games of all times. And if you want to learn more about defense, you should also check out our defensive strategies in chess. Here's also the link of the playlist. And if you want to see even more sharper, more brutal game than this, you can also check out our common chess games played by computers. Here's also the link. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos. And what do we say? Chess is the best, of course.